That night, Ronnie came home late from work. The clock on the wall showed 2:07 a.m. The house was silent. Only the ticking of the clock echoed faintly. She walked to the bathroom to wash her face. Her eyes felt heavy with exhaustion. As soon as she turned on the bathroom light, her gaze met the large mirror above the sink. She looked at her reflection, tired, pale, and drained. But something felt wrong. Her reflection didn't move at the same time she did. When Ronnie touched her cheek, the reflection lagged behind, just a split second too late. She frowned. "Maybe I'm just tired," she muttered. But when she bent down to splash her face with water, her reflection didn't follow. It was still staring straight at her. The water felt ice cold, unnaturally so. When she looked back up, her reflection was smiling, but she wasn't. The smile widened slowly, stretching far too much, until it didn't look like her anymore. Ronnie stepped back. Suddenly, her grandmother's words echoed in her mind. "Never look into a mirror after 2 in the morning. You won't just see yourself." The bathroom light flickered, then went out completely. In the dark, she heard a soft whisper from the direction of the mirror. "Why are you looking at me, Ronnie?" Her scream cut through the silence. She turned on her phone's flashlight, but the reflection in the mirror had its back turned to her, even though she was still facing the mirror. Then, slowly, it turned its head around, revealing a face that wasn't hers anymore. Its eyes were completely black. Terrified, Ronnie threw a towel over the mirror and ran out. But as she passed every reflective surface, the TV, the window, even her phone screen, the same smiling face stared back at her. The next morning, neighbors found Ronnie's front door wide open. The bathroom light was still on, and on the mirror's surface, smeared in blood, were the words. A week after Ronnie's disappearance, her small rented house stood empty. No one dared to go near it except Dina, a young woman new to the city, who knew nothing about what had happened. The landlord seemed nervous when she came to sign the lease. He said quickly, "The rent's cheap. Just don't use the bathroom mirror. It's old." Dina laughed. "It's just a mirror, sir. I'll be fine." That night, Dina moved in. Everything smelled of dust and silence. When she entered the bathroom, she saw the mirror covered with an old towel. Curiosity got the better of her. She pulled it down. A faint handprint was still visible on the glass. She wiped it with her sleeve, and for a second, she thought she saw something move behind her reflection, but when she turned, the bathroom was empty. Later, she unpacked her things. Her phone showed 1:58 a.m. She yawned, glancing toward the mirror again. The light flickered slightly. When she blinked, she thought she saw someone standing behind her reflection, just a shadow. Then her phone buzzed. A text message appeared from an unknown number. It said, "Don't look at the mirror after 2. Dina froze. She glanced at the time again to 01 a.m. Her heart pounded. Slowly, almost unwillingly, she turned to the mirror. This time, her reflection was smiling wide, wrong, familiar. The same smile from the photo of Ronnie that the neighbors had shown the police. The reflection raised its hand and knocked on the other side of the glass. A faint crack appeared in the mirror, spreading like veins. Then the voice came, soft and echoing. "Now it's your turn to stay." The next morning, the mirror was found shattered and the bathroom empty. No one has seen Dina since. But if you stand in front of any old mirror after 2 a.m., sometimes, if you look closely enough, you can still see her reflection, smiling back. Long before Ronnie and Dina ever touched that cursed glass, there was a man named Armin, a mirror craftsman in a small village during the 1950s. He was known for creating mirrors so perfect, people said they could see their souls through them. Armin lived alone, obsessed with his craft. One night, his wife Sari caught him whispering to one of his unfinished mirrors. When she asked who he was talking to, he simply replied, "She wants to come out." Days later, Sari vanished. The police never found her body, only a freshly polished mirror in Armin's workshop, its surface strangely warm to the touch. After that night, Armin stopped selling his mirrors, but villagers reported strange happenings. People who owned his earlier mirrors began complaining of whispers at night, voices calling their names from the reflection. Then one morning, Armin's house burned down. Inside the ashes, the police found only one intact mirror, standing untouched by the flames. Its surface was blackened, as if something inside had been burned alive, trying to escape. The mirror was taken by a collector in the city. Over the decades, it changed hands many times, always leaving behind a trail of missing owners. Eventually, it ended up in a thrift store, where it was sold cheaply to a woman named Ronnie. No one knew the truth. The mirror wasn't cursed by magic, it was a prison. Armin had trapped something inside that night, something that needed faces to wear and eyes to see through. Every time someone looked into it after 2 a.m., The boundary between the mirror and reality weakened. The reflection would move first, then it would smile, then it would step out. Now, the mirror sits quietly again, waiting for its next owner. Sometimes, at night, if you listen closely, you can hear a faint tapping sound, as if someone inside the glass is knocking and waiting to be seen. The cursed mirror had been stored for years in an abandoned warehouse on the edge of the city, until one night, a man named Rico, a paranormal investigator with a growing YouTube channel, found out about it. He had heard the rumors, people disappearing, strange reflections, and the warning, "Don't look in the mirror after 2 a.m. To him, it sounded like the perfect video title. Tonight, he said to the camera, "I'll prove it's all just urban legend." Rico set up 3 cameras, a flashlight, and a hammer. He started filming at 1:45 a.m. The mirror stood tall and cracked, its surface faintly humming, like it was breathing. As the clock struck 2 a.m., the air turned cold. The cameras flickered for a second. When the feed came back, Rico's reflection was already smiling, but he wasn't. "Nice try," he muttered. "I'm not scared." He raised the hammer to smash the glass, but before it hit, a voice whispered from behind the reflection, "Break it, and I'll come out." He froze, his hand trembled. Suddenly, the reflection moved first, tilting its head, eyes dark as voids. The glass began to ripple, like water disturbed by wind. Rico screamed and swung the hammer down, but the mirror didn't shatter. Instead, it absorbed the blow, pulling his arm deep into its surface. The camera caught his face as the mirror dragged him in. For a brief moment, his body was half inside the glass, his reflection smiling wide while the real Rico screamed. Then silence. The mirror went still again, smooth and perfect. Hours later, police found the warehouse empty. The only evidence was Rico's camera, still recording, showing the mirror standing alone, and a man's face pressed against the inside, silently screaming to be let out. Weeks later, the video leaked online. People thought it was fake, just another cursed mirror hoax. But at exactly 2 a.m., viewers began to report something strange. Their screens glitched for a moment, and for a split second, their own reflection smiled back. 2 weeks after Rico's disappearance, his final video was uploaded to his channel. No one knew who posted it. The title simply read, "Don't Look at the Mirror Challenge, 2 a.m. Real Footage." Within hours, it hit over 1 million views. People laughed in the comments, calling it fake. Some even tried to recreate the challenge at home, filming themselves standing in front of mirrors after 2 a.m. The first strange reports appeared the next night. Viewers claimed their screens flickered at the exact same moment in the video when Rico vanished. Some swore they saw their own faces smiling back from the reflection, even when they weren't smiling. By the 3rd day, a few viewers went missing. Their last online activity? Watching Rico's video till the end. In a small apartment, Lara, a content moderator for the platform, was tasked to review the video after reports of disturbing visual effects. She hit play at 1:59 a.m., unaware of the hour. The moment the clock struck 2 a.m., her monitor glitched. The reflection in the dark screen behind her began to move, though she hadn't moved an inch. When she turned around, the mirror across the room shimmered like water. Her headset crackled. A voice whispered through the speakers, calm, familiar, like Rico's. "You've already looked. Now you belong here too." Lara screamed and tried to unplug the monitor, but the screen showed her reflection, grinning, before it reached out from inside the glass. The lights flickered, then silence. The platform took down Rico's video the next morning, but copies had already spread across social media. People kept sharing it, daring each other to watch it after 2 a.m. Every new upload carried faint static sounds, and sometimes, if you paused it at the right moment, you could see a crowded room of faces inside the mirror behind Rico, faces of those who had watched before. And somewhere, deep inside that endless reflection, Ronnie, Dina, Rico, and now Lara all stand, smiling, waiting for new eyes to look their way. The mirror doesn't need to be in your house anymore, the whisper says. It just needs you to watch. After the mirror challenge videos began causing disappearances, a cybersecurity agent named Noah Ramirez was assigned to track and delete every copy of the footage. He worked for a digital crimes unit that specialized in viral paranormal cases, things that shouldn't exist, but somehow did. The file wasn't like anything he'd seen before. Every time Noah deleted it, the same video reappeared somewhere else, slightly edited, a few seconds longer, the reflection clearer. When he analyzed the raw data, he noticed something chilling. A code embedded in the video's static, written in binary, looping endlessly. The translation read, "Let me out. At first, Noah thought it was a prank, but when he slowed the footage down frame by frame, he saw something hidden deep in the glitch, a human face pressing against the digital noise from inside the video. He paused. His reflection on the monitor was perfectly still until it blinked. He hadn't. The clock on his wall read 1:58 a.m. Noah's palms were sweating, but he couldn't stop watching. The code was rewriting itself in real time. Lines of text appeared across his screen. "You're looking. Stay still. It's already after 2. He turned to the clock again. The hands hadn't moved, but the reflection behind him smiled. It wasn't his face anymore. In a panic, he tried to shut down the computer, but every monitor in the lab turned on by itself, displaying hundreds of live camera feeds, each one showing someone, somewhere, looking into a mirror after 2 a.m. Some were crying, some were screaming. All of them were being watched from inside the glass. Then the final feed appeared, Noah's own camera, showing him standing there, motionless, as his reflection slowly stepped out of the screen. The next morning, all of Noah's systems had wiped themselves clean. The official report said, digital corruption, operator missing. But the surveillance footage told another story. His reflection was still there, sitting in front of the computer, watching the next viewer through the monitor. And now, the cursed mirror no longer needs glass. It lives inside screens, inside cameras, inside every device that can show your reflection. If your phone ever turns on by itself after 2 a.m., and you see a face smiling back that isn't yours, don't blink, don't move, just look away before it decides to step through. After Noah vanished, the world's major networks began to shut down at random. Servers overloaded with corrupted data. Phones flickered at 2 a.m. no matter the time zone. And in every dark screen, people swore they could see eyes staring back. Governments called it a digital anomaly. But inside a secret facility in Geneva, a small team of engineers led by Dr. Elena Voss knew the truth. The mirror curse had migrated online. Elena's task was simple, in theory. She was to activate Protocol Black Reflection, a global failsafe that would cut off all online visual networks for 6 minutes at exactly 2 a.m. 6 minutes to erase the infection before it spread beyond control. If it's digital now, she said to her team, we just have to make the world go dark long enough to delete it. But the curse was already listening. At 1:57 a.m., all their monitors came alive on their own. Every screen showed the same feed, Noah's last recording. He sat motionless, staring into the camera, whispering, don't look, it's awake. The team froze. Elena turned off the monitors, but one stayed on, a small security camera in the corner, showing her reflection. It blinked out of sync. It knows we're here, one of the engineers whispered. Then the lights died. The emergency systems powered. But the reflections on the black glass walls were still moving. They weren't theirs anymore. Elena slammed the emergency key to activate the protocol. The world's networks began shutting down one by one. Asia, Europe, America. The map on her screen turned red, then black. But before the final shutdown, a strange symbol appeared on her monitor. A circle with a vertical slit in the center, like an eye. And a message flashed in the system log. You can't delete what's older than light. Every reflection in the room turned toward her. Dozens of faces, some human, some warped beyond recognition, pressed against the inner side of the glass. Elena screamed as the reflection reached out, gripping her hand through the monitor. The moment she touched it, the world's screens went dark. For 6 minutes, the entire planet lost power. No phones, no lights, no connection. When the systems came back online, every screen showed the same image. A mirror, cracked in the center, and something moving behind it. That night, satellites detected a faint pulse traveling through the Earth's atmosphere, a signal shaped like an eye, blinking once every hour. No one knows where it came from, but every time it pulses, cameras flicker, and for a split second, the world's reflection blinks back. After the global blackout, people noticed something impossible. Their shadows began to move on their own. It started small, a flicker at the corner of an office, a figure waving half a second too late after someone raised their hand. But soon, it became undeniable. By the third night, thousands of reports appeared online. Shadows that whispered, shadows that stared back, and sometimes, shadows that didn't belong to anyone. Governments denied everything. The media blamed mass hysteria. But scientists who studied video evidence noticed one terrifying detail. The strange pulse detected in the atmosphere after the blackout was perfectly synced with the movement of the shadows. Every time the pulse blinked, shadows everywhere twitched, as if something unseen was breathing through them. In a small apartment in Manila, A survivor named Usha recorded her testimony. The video was never aired publicly, but her words were found later in fragments. I don't use mirrors anymore. I smashed all of them. But last night, my shadow, it turned its head. It looked right at me. It smiled. Her recording ended with the sound of heavy breathing, and then a whisper that wasn't hers. You can't hide from what you cast. Across the world, people stopped going out after dark. Cities became silent after midnight. The only light that remained safe was fire. Shadows born from electricity seemed to move too freely. In the ruins of the Geneva facility, a lone computer came back online by itself. The last message Dr. Elena Voss had tried to send finally appeared. It's not in the mirrors anymore. The reflections are free. We didn't trap it in glass. The world itself was always the mirror. Now, when the clock strikes 2 a.m., you might notice your shadow stretch a little farther than it should. If it does, don't move. Don't turn, because it's no longer following you. It's watching to see if you'll notice, and if it ever waves first, run. By the time governments admitted the truth, it was already too late. The phenomenon had a name now, shadow infection. Every night at 2 a.m., the pulse in the sky returned, and every time it blinked, more people disappeared, pulled into their own darkness. To fight back, scientists and exorcists formed a coalition known as the Light Hunters, a group dedicated to tracking, isolating, and neutralizing living shadows. Their weapon, a prototype called the Lumen Engine, a device that could freeze shadows in place using concentrated light frequencies. At least, that was the theory. Dr. Aidan Clark, one of the last surviving engineers from the Geneva blackout, led the first field test in a deserted city. His team entered a street where every building's windows had been covered with ash-black cloth. The air was still. No wind, no sound. Only their own shadows stretching long across the cracked concrete. Remember, Aidan warned, if your shadow stops moving before you do, you run. They activated the Lumen Engine. A blinding flash filled the street. For a moment, everything went still, until one of the soldiers screamed. His shadow had detached from the ground. It stood upright, featureless, its head tilting slightly curious. Then dozens more began peeling themselves free from the pavement. They're not one being, Aidan whispered. They're copies, millions of reflections, fragments of something larger. The Lumen Engine flickered. The shadows started moving toward them, not walking, but flowing, like ink spreading across light. Aidan turned the power to maximum. The explosion of white light consumed the street, and when the dust cleared, the shadows were gone. So was most of his team. Days later, satellite footage showed a glowing pattern burned into the ground where they'd stood, a symbol shaped like a circle with a vertical slit, the eye. Inside the control room, the surviving data log played back one last audio clip from Aidan. We thought it was trapped in mirrors. We thought it hid in screens. But it was never about reflection. It's about light itself. Every time we shine it, we give it a doorway. Now the Light Hunters are gone. The world is dimmer than ever. People cover their lights after midnight. But sometimes, even in total darkness, a faint shimmer glows beneath your feet, and your shadow begins to move again. Before the clock hits 2, long before cities, before language, before the first fire was lit, the world was already being watched. The ancient ones called it the eye beneath the light. It wasn't a god, nor a demon, but something older, a consciousness that existed only in reflection. Every pool of water, every shard of obsidian, every spark of light was its window into the living world. When the first humans learned to make fire, they accidentally gave it millions of mirrors to look through, and when they invented glass, it finally learned how to reach out. Centuries later, Armin, the mirror maker from episode 3, didn't create the curse. He found one of those ancient fragments buried beneath his village. He thought he was polishing a piece of history. Instead, he was cleaning the eye. When his wife Sari disappeared, it wasn't murder. She was taken back through the reflection to where the eye waits. Every mirror since then, every screen, every shadow, is just another doorway. And now, after decades of watching, the eye no longer needs to be invited. It's awake everywhere the light touches. In the ruins of the Light Hunters base, a single terminal powered on by itself, the system camera flickered, showing the faint outline of a man, Noah, or what was left of him. His eyes were white, glowing faintly. He whispered, "You can't turn off light. You can't stop seeing. That's how it wins." The camera panned to the wall, covered in mirror shards forming a single, perfect circle. At the center was the slit of the eye, opening slowly, spilling light that bent the shadows backward. Through it, shapes began to crawl out, faces of everyone the mirror had ever taken. Ronnie, Dina, Rico, Lara, Aidan, Elena. their smiles stretching wide as the light around them pulsed like a heartbeat. The screen shook. The reflection leaned forward, whispering the final words heard before the signal died. "It's your turn to look." Since that night, no one dares to turn on a screen after 2 a.m. But sometimes, just before dawn, a faint shimmer appears on walls, on glass, even on your phone's black screen. A circle with a slit, watching, and if you look close enough, you'll see it blink. Because the world itself was never real. We've been inside the mirror all along, and I guess that's where we'll end tonight's story. The tale of the cursed mirror, the living shadows, and the light that hides something darker behind it. We've seen how it all began, from a simple reflection to a world slowly consumed by its own image. But remember, the next time you walk past a mirror after 2 a.m. and feel like something's watching you, don't stare for too long, because maybe the story isn't really over yet.